Number one is remembering past flaws. Now, I got to tell you, we're not talking about ruminating here, but we're talking about instances in the past. Not ruminating, but something that you did or something that you said, maybe years ago, maybe decades ago, maybe a few months ago, or maybe it's something you didn't say or something you didn't do that you should have. And thoughts of that, what do you call these things? I don't even have a word for them. These thoughts, flash in the pan, shot in the dark, they just seem to come out of nowhere. Ruminating is where you dwell on something for a long period of time, but this is where something is just very quick. It's just a thought that comes to mind. And you think to yourself, oh, I was so stupid. How could I be such an idiot? Why didn't I do that? I should have done it, or why did I do that? I should not have done it. I think everybody does this to some extent, at least people that I've talked to, but with people with Asperger syndrome, because we don't quite fit in socially. We don't know what the social protocols are. We do a lot of dumb things, or say a lot of dumb things, or things, I say dumb, that's probably not the best word to use, things that are not considered appropriate. And hey, they're not. Something came to mind the other day when I was a pastor. We're going back 30, 40 years, decades. And there was a pastor who was visiting the church, and protocol is when someone comes in like that, there's nothing written in stone that says you have to acknowledge them or say something kind about them from the pulpit, but it's just good manners. Didn't even occur to me. You know, I saw the guy there, knew who he was. I was glad to have him, but not understanding social protocols. I didn't understand, the other type of protocols called just good manners. It didn't even occur to me. Well, I noticed after the service, the guy kind of left in a huff, and I thought, gee, what's his problem? But then it occurred to me later, I mean, like years later, that, now I understand why he did what he did. And I have all kinds of things like that just pop up in my mind. And I think to myself, how could you be so stupid? Why didn't you see that? Now, maybe it was something that you said to somebody or whatever, and you say, why did I say that? I should have known better. But those past flaws that keep popping up in your mind, and sometimes I'll even catch myself saying out loud, you were so stupid, or you were such an idiot. Thinking about those past things, what were you thinking? Indicators in my mind that there is some abuse in the past, and you're not happy with yourself. You're not settled with yourself. Now, I say that because I've noticed that the things that I did say right in the past, or things that I did do right in the past, or vice versa, things that I didn't say, which is a good thing that I didn't or didn't do that I could have but didn't and should not have. I mean, those positive things, they don't pop up in my mind ever. Why just the negatives? Well, I think it's something going on inside the mind that says, look, this is kind of like your brain talking to yourself. Subconsciously, it's saying, you've got all this abuse, you're a flawed person, and let me just remind you of some of these dumb mistakes. And there I go with the word dumb again. They're really not stupid, but they're just, just not fitting with what some would call social etiquette or protocol. Number two is feeling misplaced. I know some people with Asperger syndrome that they've got this weird feeling that they're so misplaced that they never should have been born. They just shouldn't be here. They not sure why they are here, and they just feel out of place. Where does that come from? Well, I think that comes from, and I'm guessing if you have Asperger syndrome, you may be able to identify with this. I think that comes from as you were growing up and even into adulthood, and sometimes it's even worse in adulthood. When you are around other people, you are literally out of place. You don't have a place. It's kind of like you're working a jigsaw puzzle and you've got a piece left over and the whole puzzle is done. Well, where did this piece come from? Apparently it goes to another puzzle. How did it get in here? And you feel like that piece of the jigsaw puzzle. Another analogy I used a few days ago was a drop of oil in a bucket of water. You're in it, but you just don't belong there. So you get these feelings that, I'm out of place. And sometimes we take those feelings to an extreme where we think we have no place ever and we should not have even been born. That's a serious problem. In fact, all of these, I think, are serious problems that we really need to pay attention to. So while we're talking about it. But these are things that I think emanate from being abused emotionally. And a lot of people who abuse us emotionally now and in the past may not even know they're doing it. I think most of them probably do. They just don't care. They would be very upset if someone did the same thing to them or to one of their children or to someone else, another loved one in their lives. They know they're doing it, but some don't. Number 3 is feeling directionless. This is that thing that we talked about in other videos where you're out in the woods, you don't have a compass. Any direction could be north. Well, when you're growing up as a neurotypical child, chances are you have an environment in where the direction is very clear. You go to school, you're supposed to do this is how you operate socially. And a lot of those things, nobody sits you down and teaches kids those things. I mean, sometimes they teach a little bit, not as enough as they should, but it's just natural. It's just innate. They just know. You see a bunch of kids on the playground together. What, did they take a class on how to play together? Don't think so. They just know. It's just natural. They just know how to do it. Well, the problem is with a person with Asperger syndrome, that part of the brain that says here's how you socialize doesn't seem to be functioning, or maybe it's just not even there, or maybe it's a little bit slower than normal. It functions but not up to full speed. And so what happens is you just don't have that sense of direction. Everybody else just knows what direction to go in. It's kind of like when birds, migrate to the south in the winter, then they migrate to the north in the summertime. How do they know? I mean, do all the birds get like an email or something that says, okay, today's the day we're going to start heading out? No, they just know. They just know. They just have that inner sense of direction. So it's instinctive. And I think with neurotypical people, and this again is based on, just my experience and my observations in life's laboratory, is it's just as instinctive as a bird knowing when to get up and go, when to kick the chick out of the nest. They just know because it's apparently genetic. It's built into their mind. Well, that little component again doesn't seem to be in their mind. So we grow up having no direction, and as an adult. And I don't know how old you are, but as an adult, we still have remnant thoughts of misdirection. Not sure which way we're going to go. With some people, it's more severe than others. I think I've got a pretty good sense of direction. Now, that could be because I'm, almost 70 years old. I'm getting near the end. So there's really not a whole lot of places to go because I've already been there. But maybe that's it. But I don't have a problem with that. But a lot of people do. And we're concerned about those people because that is an indication that you have been abused in the past, at least in my opinion. So stop and think about that. Why do you feel so directionless, and what can you do about it? Number 4 is this. A sign of past abuse is that you tend to doubt and question just about everything. I mean, just about everything. You wonder not only why you are here, but now you're going to begin wondering about, do you have a purpose? I mean, were you put here for a reason? If you were, who put you here? Maybe, like we said earlier, you feel like you weren't supposed to be put here. You got here by mistake. Maybe you shouldn't even be here. And these thoughts begin to accumulate in your mind. You just start questioning everything. And if you're not supposed to be here, should I have a family? Should I have a house? Should I have a computer if I'm not supposed to be here? I mean, whose computer do I have? I mean, that seems kind of silly, right? I mean, whose computer is this? I'm talking about computers because I'm sitting in front of one. It just comes to mind. Now, maybe you are not that extreme. Maybe those thoughts have not come into your mind. But a lot of people have those thoughts. And I think that that questioning everything and doubting everything emanates from a history of emotional abuse. And if you are a person with Asperger syndrome, that doesn't take a whole lot of explaining because you've been there, done that. You know what it's like to go to school and be all alone. You know what it's like to go to a social function and wish you could get out of there as soon as you can because, the other birds know what direction to fly in. You don't. You have no idea. When they all get up and take off, you're thinking, why did I get left behind? Nobody told me. How do they know? How do people know to socialize? Not just kids on a playground, but grown adults at the workplace, at church, at some other function. How do they know when to talk, where to talk, what to say? They just know. They just know. It's instinctive. But not with you if you have been emotionally abused in the past because you have been pushed away so many times. And if not pushed away, you have been abandoned. But somehow, some way, people get away from you because they sense, okay, this is someone who lives in the uncanny valley. They're not thinking this literally, but that's the impression. Something just a little bit off about this person. I want to get them away from me. So they push you away, maybe in the form of bullying or teasing, or they may try to get away from you. I heard a guy one time say that this is a guy with Asperger syndrome. And he said when he was in school, I guess grade school maybe, junior high maybe, he said that he had this amazing power that he could sit down at a lunchroom at school and everybody at the table get up and walk away. He said it was incredible. When he got done with one table, he'd go to another, and same thing. Just amazing what he could do. He was joking, but he was kind of not joking. He was illustrating the problem that people with Asperger's syndrome have, and because they are constantly being rejected, they just don't know. Where am I supposed to sit? Where is my place in the lunchroom? Where is my place in the classroom? They don't know. They go to work and they find themselves, again, being rejected even as adults. Well, where am I supposed to work? If they won't let me work here and I know my job and I got a good attitude and I show up on time, where is my place? And they begin to question and doubt everything about life. Where is my place? Number 5 is a loss of interest. We'll mention this quickly because we've talked about this a lot in the past. But I think all of us have an interest in something, and people with Asperger syndrome tend to have special interest in special things, and they get absorbed with whatever it is they happen to be interested in, obsessed with it. Well, what is your thing of interest? Well, maybe it's maybe you like to paint, maybe you like music, maybe you like to listen to music, maybe you like to play music, play piano, whatever. Maybe you like to make videos. That's what I'm doing. I love to make videos. I like to talk to you guys. I love to edit the videos when I'm done. I like to converse with people when they leave comments. I love all of that. So we all have this thing that we just enjoy doing. But if you're losing the joy, if that thing, whatever it is, and stop and think about what that thing is or those things are for a moment. And have you ever just lost interest in those things? You just don't care anymore. You're just kind of flat. You just kind of give up. That, I believe, may be a strong indication that, okay, you have endured some real emotional abuse in your past. Number 6 is this. This ties in, I believe, with depression, which is very common among people with Asperger syndrome. And number 6 is you have an odd sleep pattern. Got to tell you the story. Just last week, I made up my mind that I was going to get to bed on time and I was going to get up on time, and then I wasn't going to take any naps until the next night. I was going to get myself back on a sleep schedule because it's hard to do. Well, that's what I did, except I got up in the morning. Okay, now when 11 o'clock comes around, then I'm going to go to bed. Not going to take any naps because I'm going to make sure that I'm good and tired. So 11 o'clock came around, and guess what? Couldn't sleep. Wide awake. The hours passed by. 6 o'clock in the morning. That, by the way, is when I go to the grocery store. 6 o'clock in the morning, hadn't slept a wink. Can't sleep. I usually get up and, watch a podcast or listen to a podcast on YouTube. So I got up rather, and went to the store. Went to the grocery, did my shopping. Back home by 7 in the morning. I'd gone like 24, 25 hours, no sleep. What is up with that? Why does that happen? Well, eventually, yeah, I got to sleep, woke up at noon. I don't like doing that. I don't like sleeping in the day. But what's going on inside my mind? I think a lot of people with Asperger syndrome have that problem. If you do, you might want to tell us your story in the comment section. That's one of the things we do here is we like to talk back and forth. I'm not the only guy here. Let's all talk if you don't mind. But what is going on inside our brains? Why is it that we can't sleep when we're supposed to sleep and get up when we're supposed to get up? I think maybe that could be tied to past abuse, and there's a trace of depression. I say a trace, it could be a flood of depression, but those things are all, or they seem to all be intertwined. But it goes back to those times of rejection. It goes back to something unsettling in our minds. And so our entire mind gets a little bit off kilter. Number 7 is this: oversensitive to others. That occurs when somebody may say something or do something and you find yourself very offended or maybe hurt by what they said or what they did or what they didn't say or what they didn't do. Well, how do you know that's a problem? Well, you may see that other people, when others say something to them, they don't get upset, or if they do get upset, they get over it. And sometimes we find ourselves in this place where the smallest infraction may send us reeling because we are so sensitive to rejection. And I was going to say we shouldn't be, but we have good cause. I mean, you've experienced this year after year, month after month. You take a kid with Asperger syndrome and you send him off to kindergarten. I guess it's pre-kindergarten now. And basically the kid is being abused all day long. Maybe subtle. It may not be very obvious, but that constant rejection, the inability to fit in hour after hour, day after day, becomes week after week and then year after year. And you can't tell me that doesn't have an effect on the child. Absolutely, it just has to. I mean, it would be a rare individual that could go through years and years and years of emotional rejection who doesn't have any sensitivity to it. And there you go. Now we are hypersensitive to rejection to others because we know that it hurts. We have a point of reference. We have a lifetime, which is a point of reference to rejection. And so the slightest bit of rejection, somebody may not like our idea, they may want to do something different from the way that we do it, and boom, we're offended. But we're noticing that, other people do get offended, but not as often as we do, not as intentionally as we do. So that is a sign, I think. I honestly believe that is a sign of past emotional abuse that we need to come to terms with. Do you see those 2 rectangles on the screen? If you want our conversation to keep on going, you're invited to stay on because we got a whole lot more to talk about. All you got to do is click one of those 2 rectangles. If not, well, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you all next time.